Hey everyone, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to show you a few tips and tricks on how to carefully run your CNC mill so you can avoid costly mistakes and errors. So whenever you're ready, let's go ahead and get started. One of the first mistakes people make is clamping their workpiece incorrectly. You always want to clamp your workpiece between the non-cutting surface here. Why? Because these surfaces are perfectly even and parallel, which provide a better clamping surface for your vise. You never want to use the cut faces of your workpiece. These faces are often uneven and may have burrs or defects which can contribute to your workpiece not being adequately secured. Another common mistake I come across is an improperly cut workpiece with the horizontal bandsaw. Cutting your workpiece too big or even too small can have consequences. A workpiece that is cut larger than required may result in your workpiece coming out of your vise during the machining process. It may even cause a tool to break or snap off. And a workpiece that is cut smaller than required may end up affecting the quality of your part. For students in my class, I recommend cutting a workpiece plus or minus 0.01 inches within the target cutting size. So always make accurate measurements and cuts with your horizontal bandsaw. After you cut your workpiece with the horizontal bandsaw, always make sure to deburr it and measure your workpiece with some calipers. By measuring your workpiece with some calipers before the machining process, you can be certain it will come out well without any mistakes or consequences. When running your G-code, another tip people often don't use is the single block button or key. By selecting single block, your machine will run or execute only one block or line of G-code every time you select the cycle start button. This is useful when verifying your code so you don't break a tool or crash a machine. When running single block, you also want to run the machine at a 5% rapid speed, which will slow the machine down so you can stop the machine before a crash happens.
In our class, students write a G-code program to engrave their initials. Using single block is a great way to check the program and run one line of G-code at a time. So notice, when I press cycle start, the machine executes a single block of G-code at a time. Once the machine has executed the block of code, it automatically stops. So in this example, the machine starts engraving a single line segment to start the letter J. And notice how the machine automatically stops after it has finished the block of code. Then, if I press cycle start again, the machine will execute the next line of code. So in this example, notice how the machine starts engraving the next line segment of the letter J, and notice how the machine automatically stops after it's done.
Another tip to help you run the machine safely is to use the distance to go option. To utilize the distance to go option, select position and use the cursor keys to go over to the distance to go tab. As the name implies, the distance to go option gives you the ability to determine how much further the cutting tool will move in the X, Y, and Z direction. Interpreting the distance to go X, Y, and Z values gives you, the operator, the chance to stop the machine with the feed hold button before a mistake can occur. Just like the single block button, I recommend using the distance to go option with a 5% rapid key. As your tool approaches the workpiece, your distance to go values should approach 0. If not, you most likely have a mistake and you should stop the machine.
So when I press cycle start, the machine executes a line of G-code, and notice how the machine starts counting down to 0 as I draw a line in the X direction. And if I select start again to run another line of G-code, notice how my Y position values count down to 0 as my tool engraves a line in the Y direction.
By analyzing your distance to go values, you can anticipate machine or tool movements which will improve your ability to prevent mishaps or mistakes. And when you combine single block with distance to go and the 5% rapid speeds, you'll be able to run the machine with greater confidence and skill. Another simple yet effective tip is to always carefully watch the machine and always keep your thumb on the feed hold button. By simply paying careful attention and watching the entry or lead-in tool paths, you can avoid mistakes. For example, in the machining world, there is a huge difference between 0.2 inches and 0.02 inches. And in my class, a common mistake is to accidentally face off 0.2 inches versus 0.02 inches off the top of our workpiece. The result ends up looking something like this, where the face mill has cut out a huge gash rather than shaving off a thin layer of surface material. This can simply be avoided by getting down at eye level so your line of sight is positioned at approximately the same height as your tool and workpiece. In this case, catastrophe was averted because of a safety override setting I had in place. However, don't assume that this will save you, and always pay careful attention to what your machine is doing. By applying these tips, I hope you will become a more confident and proficient CNC operator when running a program for the first time. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.